Hey everyone, sorry I'm late. The car wasn't parked properly. Andrew, can you grab my stole from my desk, please? Thanks, mate. Cheers. All right, Bill, how about we turn that on? Hello everyone, how are you? Good. I just need to... I was just going to be here exactly on time, and then there was about 3 fire engines whizzed past and blocked the road, so I was like, come on. Anyway, we're here. All right. I was so tempted to nearly say, let's not have a broadcast today, in case I say something politically that upsets anyone. It's a new day. We have new leadership in our country. We don't know if it's majority or minority, but it's certainly something that we will talk about more into the future and how it impacts our world. But let's first take a moment to acknowledge that we are gathering and meeting on the lands of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and we pay respects to their elders past and present. We live in a land that for many generations had communities of love and connection and kinship that we would do well to understand, to learn more of. As we seek to move into the future, we do so on the shoulders of a wonderful past. Let's also open in prayer. My eyes are not haughty, and my heart is not proud. I do not concern myself with things too great and marvellous for me. Instead, I have quieted and calmed my soul, like a weaned child that knows all is well when Mama is in view. Mighty God, for the wisdom of that child, we beg. Amen. Amen. All right, we're going to have some singing. If you want to move closer to the front, that would be great, but no need. But before we get kicked off, who's reading us a psalm? Kevin. Hey, Kevin. How are you? Come up. Thanks.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Okay. Now we're doing Psalm 67. We all do the black print, and I'll read the rest. Right, okay.
That's very nice of you, Matt.
Matt's a good man.
There you go.
Thank you.
All right, where you go?
Okay.
Stand up, shouldn't we?
May God be gracious to us and bless us and make God's face to shine upon us.
That way may be known upon earth, the saving power among all nations. Let the peoples praise you, O God. Let all the peoples praise you.
Let the nations be glad and sing for joy. For you judge the peoples with equity and guide the nations upon earth.
Let the peoples praise you, O God. Let all the peoples praise you.
The earth has yielded its increase. God, our God, has blessed us.
May
God continue to bless us. Let all the ends of the earth revere them.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate that. Well, it's nice to have Kevin, the name Kevin, share when we have a new Prime Minister. All right. I think we've established that the bellwether predictor for who will be the next Prime Minister of this country is where Lisa tells us we have to live next. Right, so we used to be out in the east, and then we moved over to Marrickville, and I'll tell you what, you could do worse than backing the next Prime Minister for wherever we live next. Right, so we should be lobbied, I think.
Marrickville's not a bad place to live.
Marrickville is a great place to live, actually. It's quite fantastic. Not only was there a democracy sausage, there was a democracy halloumi and basil. Right, so we were. So I enjoyed both. All right. I think we should start off with what song should we start off with? Yeah, let's do I Can See Clearly Now. Let's all stand up and sing this one together. We'd sing that song probably as an act of faith, leaving Sydney right now. But just so let's just we can finally rest from the whole election politicking cycle for at least 5 minutes and just enjoy what a beautiful, wonderful world we can live in. Let's go with What a Wonderful World. More blue skies. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Clap, you are good singers. All right, Taras introduced us to this song. By the way, everyone, here's Taras here. You might notice him on Channel 10 from the Big Brother house right now. Right? He got recognised this week, which is pretty exciting. You're that person from that show. And I feel like saying to that young person, don't lie, you know exactly who he is, exactly what show he's on. I often get, you're that person from Wesley, right? Yeah, close enough. Right, close enough. But Taras introduced us to this beautiful, beautiful song that can help us navigate some difficult times. All right.
Words that I
Please have a seat. All right. We are very lucky to have Rachel and Tim here with us. Before I get them up with Hemming Keith, as he stands up, I just want to let you know to keep in prayer our beloved Peter. Peter's our long-term volunteer who often is in the kitchen. He's had a pretty big battle over the last couple of months with cancer, and they've found it's moved to another part of his body, and he's got a clot also in his lung at the moment, so he's back in hospital. So keep him in your thoughts, light candles, say some prayers for him, particularly as he faces a battle. I thank you to Trish, thank you to the whole team around him who are regularly visiting him, and Sue, who used to work here, who has been through cancer as she walks him through. So just keep Peter in your thoughts. If you want to send him a message, if you've got his contact details, feel free to send it. If you don't, send it to me and I'll forward it on next time we catch up. So let's keep that in mind.
Trevor's sister passed away during the week as well.
So Trevor, you off to Young?
Yes.
Yeah,
Wednesday.
on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So let's keep your sister in our prayer, and her family too.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. All right. Oh, it's been quite a week, hasn't it? Yeah. Maybe I'll just say a little prayer then for Peter and for the family. We thank you, Lord, that you are with us. Not just when the sun is shining, but even as we walk through some deep and dark valleys. We hold up to you now, Peter and Trevor's sister. We just pray that you will send family and care and surround them with love. Not with easy answers, Lord, or glib ones, but with people who will walk alongside them in this dark time. Amen. All right. That's some stuff to deal with. You guys come up. On that note, how's that? You know? Please come up. All right. Who's this guy?
Hemming Keith.
Hemming Keith. Now, you know, no offence, but Rachel and Tim are some pretty standard Aussie names. There we go. So, oh, there we go. We've got a siren here.
Sorry.
It's all right. All right. I'm not going to start with him. I'm going to start with you guys. All right. To Mum and Dad. We're just taking a little moment now, everyone, to stop. Because I think the present one is always present, and life is always presenting itself to us in new and exciting ways. It's just we're who are asleep or too busy going from one appointment to the next to actually stop and notice what on earth is going on, which is usually pretty flippin' awesome. And there's nothing more awesome than this little fella here, is there? Yeah. Look at what your love has created. How amazing, what a little miracle. He is, and he is an absolute miracle. For those who don't know, well, we all call Rachel Stegman around here, but it no longer is her surname. Stegman, how long have you been volunteering?
12 plus years.
Over 12 years with us, so very well known. She has really blessed us in so many ways, and our visitors absolutely adore you, as do we all. And she tells some wonderful stories here that are not probably for a chapel service, though it is Wayside. But you know, when your foot was broken, and I told her I wouldn't bring that up. It's we absolutely adore you and love you. And Tim, mate, you're just Tim. No, we I need to talk to you guys, because as parents, this kid looks up to you. Right. You are his world. You know, right now, You guys know everything. He will ask you questions like, why is the sky blue? Well, if he lives in Sydney, he won't be asking that question at all, right? Yeah. Well, what are these fingers? What happens here? What happens there? Because you know everything. You form his world. You create the ground that he walks on. And Tim, everything he learns about life and about how to treat women and about how to be a good man in this world, he'll learn not from your mouth, but from the way you treat Rachel. And Rachel. The way this world works, and I believe it is changing, but most of what he is going to learn about what it means to be a man is probably not going to come so much through observing Tim, so much as it will come through what he hears about men through you. I was raised by 5 women, so I learned about all about what it means to be a man by what my dad had done wrong. Where's Dad? Oh, I don't know, he'll be home when he's home. So, how he sees himself, you have a strong role in forming that. How he sees you treat Tim will how he will begin to feel about himself. That's a beautiful and awesome responsibility. Also, it's not just about the two of you with Hemming, it's about the family and the friends that are around. And you guys are the ones who get to fill him full of sugar, teach him some of the words he's probably not allowed to say at home, let him stay up beyond those times that his mum and dad have set, and then to be able to give him back at the end of the day. All care, no responsibility for his beautiful life. But it's also your awesome task to be able to just to love him unconditionally. As a parent, you get so busy, caught up in the everyday, not only the busyness of life, but you are trying to help correct him and show him the way he should go, and that's beautiful and it's important and it's healthy. You are forming the world in which he will find himself as loved, and the world in which he will find himself as safe to be who he is, in a world that needs nothing less than people who aren't afraid to tell them who they are, particularly in confusing times. But you just get to love him, right? Unconditionally. See him at his best, but always call him to his highest. We all need that person in our lives in whose eyes we can do no wrong. Right? So you get to be those people. Now, we found the baptismal font that Ted Noss used to use, so this is the one that's connected in. So if you were done here, you would have been done right here. I believe that's about as tall as Ted Noss was, so it was head height for him. Right? So if we could take off his shoes. All right. We're fresh out of an election where we saw something called the teal wave come through, and the greatest issue that was named was the concern for how our leaders are responding to the crisis we have in our environment right now. How are we going to care for this earth? In the ancient Hebrew, this word for person and the word for earth are the same. Adama. We come from the earth and we will ultimately return to the earth, and he will face challenges that you and I will know nothing of in his future. And so we've stolen some sand from the Bondi Beach, and Bondi Rescue Sand that is there, and I'll place his feet in there. We'll get your toes in there, buddy. Oh, look at that, you like that? She loves the beach. Oh, he likes it. And that's not just a loofah, luxurious foot scrub. It is in our prayer and in our hopes that he will grow to make brave decisions in favour of the earth. That he will make decisions that will benefit his ancestors 7 generations from now. And that we will be the families and the communities that also have the courage to make those decisions, as we saw post-election. And I'm going to anoint his head with the sign of the cross with oil, because you don't own him. Yes, he looks to you. Yes, he will ask you everything. You are the ones. You are his whole world right now. It's he is. We only anoint people who are royalty, and he is royalty. He is a child of this world, a child of this universe, and he's on loan to you for just 5 minutes. For those of us who have raised kids or been around people will know how quickly time goes. It's already mid to the end of May. Can you believe Christmas is in 7 months' time? I don't even want to think about it, right? And it just gets quicker and quicker and quicker. I mean, a year feels like forever, probably for this young fella. Every year feels like so long. Well, trust me, I've got a birthday coming up on Thursday or Tuesday, and I just felt like I just had one, right, 5 seconds ago, and it just rolls on. Time rolls on. But and slowly he will stop from seeing you as the font of all wisdom and knowledge to, what do these guys know? No, because none of us have been there. And pretty soon he'll be asking you some really deep questions, particularly when he's about 16, 17 years old, which usually revolve around, can I have some food? Can I have some money? And Dad, can I have some of the car keys, please? Right? That will all happen. But let me anoint his head with oil. Now, what's the name, the full name you have chosen for?
Hemming Keith Finlayson.
Hemming Keith Finlayson. Tell us about the name Hemming. Fascinating.
The Nordic name, Nordic Scottish, but
Mm.
Keith is my mother's and Tim's mother's father's name. Different fathers, but different people, but same name.
Hemming Keith Finlayson. That's a beautiful name. It's going to take him a while to learn how to spell that. Yes, it's every time he hears that name, that should be a reminder that he is made from the deepest love of you two. That's a name that not only pushes him into a beautiful future, but connects him to a beautiful past. That he is the product of a long line of courageous people who have made courageous decisions, who have allowed us to share this little moment together too. So I'm just going to baptise him with some water. He might freak out a little bit. All right. So, Penny, Keith Finlayson. I baptise you in the name of the Father, and of the Son. Here we go. Now, Hemming Keith Finlayson, may the Lord bless you and keep you and make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. All right, please come here, Mum and Dad, because we're going to sing our good old famous song. We're going to sing a little song to you and to Keith. It's one of our favourite songs here. Please stand as we sing this song. Because I present to you Hemming Keith Finlayson, a child of the universe. Yes, give him a big clap.
For
Please be seated. All right. Who's going to give us our gospel reading today? Thank you. Totally forgot to put this on after I got Andrew to bring it. Sorry.
Good morning. We have John 5, verses 1 to 9.
Sorry. Thanks, Ben.
I better put my glasses on just in case. After this, there was a festival, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now in Jerusalem, by the sheep gate, there is a pool, called in Hebrew Beth Zaratha, which has 5 porticos. In these lay many who were blind, lame, and paralysed. One man was there who had been ill for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had been there a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be made well?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. And while I am making my way, someone else steps down ahead of me." Jesus said to him, "Stand up, take your mat and walk." At once the man was made well, and he took up his mat and began to walk. Now that day was a Sabbath.
Thank you. Thanks, Bernie. Thanks, everyone. I wish I could have delivered this message to you from the cheap seats, but this is certainly a different kind of gravy, this one. So I'm going to have a go at something. Bear with me, but please, can you close your eyes for a moment? I want to read you the second stanza of one of my favourite poems of all time, which is by the poet Rumi. All right, please close your eyes, and I want you to imagine some of the sights and senses and sounds and images that come to you. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, and even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Do not go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the doorway where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. Keep your eyes closed. Just think yourself, don't yell it out. What does that field look like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? You know, our mission is about creating community with no us and them, where we break down those barriers of judgment. And when we find ourselves swept up in that moment, like when Rachel was hobbling in with a broken foot and she was confronted in this moment of beauty, she had that moment where she was standing in that field with someone else. We have moments of mission, but we mostly live in moments of wishing, where we're just too busy moving back and forth, back and forth. Don't run yourself down for moving back and forth. No one of us can live in that field forever. But hold that field in your heart. Open your eyes. V.K. Krishnamurti is, I don't know who he is, but with that Indian surname, he's probably a cousin of mine, right? He has a quote that says, "It is no sign of ill health to be maladjusted to a sick society." Right? It's no sign of ill health to be maladjusted to a sick society. And we live in a culture that is way out of whack, right? We live in a society that already, it seems, has predetermined who are the winners and who are the losers of that game. We have a picture in this story that we had read by Bernie of a man who has just sat on the sidelines of life for 38 years, just waiting to measure up to what this society promises, and it is ultimately unsatisfying. It's ultimately going nowhere. And I think we all feel that, don't we? None of us ever really measure up. You know, I remember in year 7 we made a joke. Two of my classmates made a bet, and we said, and he wrote it down. I still remember it vividly. Tom wrote, "I bet you Duncan will be school captain when we're in year 12." This was 3 weeks into year 7, right? Because we already knew who were the winners and losers. Because school only ever rewards achievements. Nothing to do with character, nothing to do with who you are. No, it never rewards the person who can see the new student and makes time to care for them or love them, right? It's always who's the captain of the football team. That was the school I grew up in. And who's the captain of the cricket team. And believe it or not, you're not going to be surprised. Duncan was the school captain in year 12 because it was already predetermined. There was nothing anybody else could do in that space. And that's the world we kind of live up in. That's the kind of world that a guy like this or someone like you or me, we look up and there's always someone smarter than us. There's always someone prettier than us. There's always someone more than us in whatever way it is. You know, any sign that you're involved in a false kind of philosophy or doctrine or religion is, its core message is you aren't good enough, right? You're not measuring up. You need to be better. Not so much better, I think we can always improve, but one of the hallmarks of false religion or false doctrine is that it says you aren't complete. You aren't enough in that space. Right? Any true one says we need you more than ever to be who you are. Right? We need you to be your true self. We need you to be able to discover that. And that can be as true in a shiny chapel just as it can be true in a shopping centre. You need to be who you are. Because you're loved as you are and not as you should be. And that's the beautiful message that we present to you. That is the gift of our mission to this place. So there's this guy. We live in a society that always sells solutions, doesn't it? It says, we live, someone once said it beautifully, it's consumption as cure, right? You know, you're not feeling good enough, buy this. You're not feeling good enough, just go on this, have this experience or have this surgery or, attend this course. It's all consume. Pay. Trust me, you can do all of those things and you will be just as empty as when you began that pursuit. You know, none of us actually fit in. I thought I fit in. Growing up in Australia in the 70s and 80s, I thought I fit in. When I was told that my name was John Owen, I thought that's the perfect name to grow up in white Australia, right? And then I looked in the mirror and thought, gee, that doesn't match, right? There's a brown kid with a name like John Owen. I should be VK Krishnamurthy or something like that. That should be my name, right? Not John Owen. And so I thought, wow, that's a bit weird. So I took one of those DNA tests, right, that they give you. You know, you rub it in your cheek. Turns out we're Welsh, right? No. So I asked Dad, I said, Dad, which part of Wales are we from? And he said, it must be the coal miners or something like that, you know, who don't know how to navigate. So it was, so I thought, you know, I should be able to make it in this place, right? Everything is set up for me. But that was not my experience. You know, being a little immigrant kid in a big white neighbourhood, 3 sisters, it was beautiful, and I hope you've met them. They're gorgeous creatures. But I was meant to protect them, and I couldn't. You know, it was a pretty rough little brutal world there. I didn't fit into it at all. And, you know, I remember going to school dressed up in my best double denim in the 80s, which I believe is back in fashion now. Good fashion never dies, right? It just takes a little rest for a while. And I don't think hair gel will ever come back, though. Not that I've got enough.
Always repeats.
Yes, it does. Well, I'm not sure hair gel's ever going to come back quite in the way I used to put it on in there. I don't think I've got enough hair left to gel. And, it was, there was a big bully at school, and he used to pick on 3 kids. It was either me or the Greek kid or the kid who had a disability. Because that was the world we grew up in. And we used to take turns as to who he would beat up on, right? And it was always the same. It would always happen in the playground, and it would always happen in this big circle. And he would pick one of us. He'd get into school every day and just goad all 3 of us till one of us snapped. So how we worked out who would get the beating allocated to us was we'd worked out who was the last person beaten up, and that means they didn't have to be beaten up this time, right? So, I remember when it was ever our turn, you'd have to snap, and then he would just use that as a cue to lay into you. And what happened next was this whole circle would form around you. I don't know if you've ever been involved in a good old fight. Well, these weren't fights, these were one-sided beatings, actually. They would form a circle around you because that way the teachers couldn't see. But this was the 80s in the staff room in Australian primary school, so I think all the teachers were probably drinking in the common room at the time and having cigarettes, because you still could smoke indoors back then. And, I just remember looking around at this whole circle. Every time he would get you on the ground and he would just beat into you, right? And he would spit on your head, and he would do this thing called the typewriter. I don't know if you've had the typewriter. Do you even know what a typewriter is, you young people? So he would just sit with his knees against your neck. So you're looking up, and then he would just bang away on your forehead and then whack you on the side of the head to get the reel back in. And so that would either be me, the other kid, or the other kid. And I just remember looking up the whole time and watching a whole crowd kind of just shouting and cheering and chanting. I'm not sure what the teachers in the staff room were thinking. Maybe we were doing a ritual or something. I'm not sure. But they certainly never came. And you would just have to wait till the bell rung, he would run out of energy. And that was kind of what would happen. The whole time I was there, I was just thinking, I just wish somebody would break this circle and come in and put their arms around me and say, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. At the end of this service, we form what we call a circle, a holy peanut. We all raise hands, and that is a place of safety. That is a place of life. And it's a place of love. It's the sort of circle we want to place around Hemming Keith, right? Where he can discover who he is, and he can declare that one day boldly to the world in ways that you or I weren't ever really given permission to do. Right? Because whenever anyone stands up and declares to this world who they are, this world becomes a better place. So that's our prayer for little Hemming Keith. And so let's look at this story. There's a guy who's sitting on the edge of society. He's sitting on the edge of life. He's been there 38 years. And some of us have sat there longer than 38 years, haven't we? Right? Saying, what's my place? I never measure up to this place. And this story then just has Jesus offering the cure, which, we can read as a miracle saying, get up and walk. But what he's saying, essentially, is because the mythology was if you sat by this pool and whenever the waters stirred up, they believed if you were the first to jump in, you would be healed. But how would the crippled and the lame get into that pool? Right? It was impossible. 38 years. And what does Jesus say? Just walk away. Just walk away from that whole system that completely and utterly and totally always reinforces to you that you don't measure up, that you're not good enough. We can live our whole lives thinking we're not good enough. And I tell you what, it's not a healthy place to live, and I think we can all say an amen to that because we've all lived there. I know that they haven't given it a name yet, but this kind of exclusion that young people feel when... I just heard something this week about something called snap maps. I don't even know what they are, thankfully. But, when all of a sudden your friends say, oh no, we're not doing anything, and all of a sudden you can apparently see where they are located or where their last post was on Snapchat. And then apparently what's worse than that is when your friends turn that off. They turn off their location. So you absolutely know for a fact that all your friends are getting together without you. Right? That's the kind of world our poor kids live in. Don't we wonder why they're feeling so anxious and so worried and so unwell in the world that we have created for them. Right? Now, how did I begin the journey of walking away from that? It was a pretty simple one. Right? I finally was lucky enough to say, I've got to stop playing that game. Because if I look at that game, I feel like I'm someone who can't walk. I feel like I'm somebody who cannot measure up. And then I, through a whole bunch of circumstances, discovered I was at university and a lecturer came in, or public speakers, public lectures were big things in the 90s back then at universities. And he said, look, you've all done it. You're all winners in this game of life. Why don't you take a year off uni and just go and serve somewhere? Go and serve a community somewhere. Go overseas, go do anything. Just work out that life isn't about you. And lucky enough, I didn't want to go overseas. I wanted to go and give back to the country that had given our family so much, and went out and volunteered down in the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne back in Springvale in the late 90s. And, all of a sudden, I wasn't thinking about me. I was thinking about others. And I wasn't thinking about how I was looking, because in that place of not measuring up, your focus is always on yourself. How am I measuring up in this place? How am I measuring up? Am I fitting into my clothes properly? Am I smart enough in this forum? Am I saying the right words? Is anyone noticing me in this place? That's all self-conscious, right? And no transformative moment occurs when we are in self-consciousness. All moments of transformation are by their very virtue unself-conscious, which is kind of why we don't really go for the Maslow's hierarchy here. You feed someone and all of a sudden it moves upwards, and all of a sudden self-actualisation, that just traps you in misery, that self-actualisation. It's that self-forgetfulness where all of a sudden you're caught up and you find yourself in that field where you meet someone as equals, where you discover your passion and your purpose for life. And I found that through being a youth worker with kids who were in and out of juvenile detention centres. I found that as someone who was taking in men who were seeking asylum from overseas. And all of a sudden life made sense. But guess what? Mission and wishing. We all still live in that world where we see the same advertising, we're delivered the same messages. We walk into a shop and we see the world. My favourite shop name ever is the stupidest one in the world. What's it called? 21 Forever. Oh my God, how sick is that? Who wants to be 21 forever? How much do you know at 21? 21's ancient for these guys, right? But, we live in such a culture of non-wisdom, do we not? We want to be 21 forever. I hope no one works there. Yeah, what a message. The message here is walk away from that system. Take up your mat and walk. Stop being locked into that system. Create a better world, a world where these beautiful young kids can flourish, beautiful young kids can grow, where people who walk in at the end of their tether will not necessarily find such an efficient service that it can serve their needs, but a community of people who actually see them and love them and call them to be who they are. You're only going to be able to give that gift if you can hear that call too. There's a field out beyond the ideas of right or wrong. I'll meet you there. Lord, I thank you for the ability that we have and the freedom, even where it feels like we have a choice between one bad leader and one bad leader, that we have the freedom to vote, that so many in this world do not. We remember our leaders, those who have lost office. We think of them and their families. We think of those who have gained office and the impact that will have on their families as well. I thank you for everyone here. I pray that we will have the courage to pick up our mats and walk away from anything that tells us we're not good enough, that we're not measuring up. I pray that we will be able to become bravely and courageously more of who you made us to be, which, just like our beautiful brother, little kid here, Hemming, is a child of the universe. Loving Lord, for the wisdom of Hemming, we ask. Now, let's all stand up and join hands and make our holy peanut. And I'll pray a final blessing. And and then we'll be done. Come here, buddy. Oh, look at that. Kev, I think you got to get Trev's hand there, mate. This is as efficient as Wayside gets, I think. Hang on with that. So, everyone.
Sorry, John, just 1 sec. Sorry, John.
Oh yeah, I've got the food truck. It's always you guys, isn't it? Alright.
Thank you.
Alright. Right. May the peace of Christ go with you wherever he may send you. May he guide you through the wilderness and protect you through the storms. May you come back here rejoicing at the wonders you have seen. May you return to this place once again into our doors. Amen. Welcome. Amen. Thank you. Now we've just got our community. We've got a roast lunch. Please stick around and share a meal. And if the love of God hits you in the pocket, which is the last place it usually does, there's a bag for that. You'll see this being passed around. All right.